Now this is something that I'm pretty proud of. As you can imagine, you spend a lot of time in the garden. Ambience plays a very important part. It's a very small area, as you've seen, just around the shed and the greenhouse, but it's full to the brim of sounds and ambient audio. Glug, glug, glug. Particularly nice is the shed ambience while it's raining. It's raining and you go inside and you hear like the pitter-patter of the rain on the roof when you're inside. So I wanted to make sure that it was done justice, so that as you move in and out of the shed, it sounds good. Here's an image of the garden, and the first thing I thought to do, of course, was a pretty classic system of having audio volumes. So as you walk into this big cubic volume or cylindrical volume in the shed, it detects that and it fades out the ambient sound from the garden and fades in the ambient sound from the building, whichever building you're in. But that means if you were to walk in really quickly, you would hear over 1 second the sound change, and the sound changes over exactly 1 second every time. And that's especially naff for the shed because after 2 steps you're already fully in the shed, and you don't want to wait a second to hear the sound come in. You want it to be really reactive to your position. So what did I do? I wanted to do something better than this standard classic little thing. I wanted to move between 2 volumes. Oh no, sorry, this is what I wanted to avoid, what I just described. Moving between 2 things and fading one sound into another. Kind of like this. Imagine you've got 2 boxes and as you move from one end to the other, the sound changes. So I wanted position-based fade from one sound to another. I wanted you to be able to slowly walk from one to the other and slowly hear the sound of one get louder and one get quieter. And if you stand right in the center, you'll hear both. Ideally, you'll hear the shed on one side in one speaker and the garden in the other. Which is what portaling is. No, it's not what portaling is. Similar to what portaling is. And portaling is something that Wise has a system for it built in. Unfortunately, FMOD doesn't, so I had to hack my own system for that. Where as you walk in the greenhouse, you can still hear the sound of the outside ambience, but it's been collapsed to the doorway. You can hear it. You can hear the rain coming through the doorway, and then as you get to the doorway and walk outside, this collapsed sound spreads out and envelops the player, so it's all around you again. And then as you go back inside, back down to the doorway. I don't know why I'm using this as a prop now. Oh, it's toasty. This is kind of a visual representation of it. Like, the green URL. Oh yeah, why is it green? This is... Yes. Yes, let me paste that. Tell you what, I'll post them both. Ooh, come on. I don't want to actually follow the link though. These are the 2 links. They're just links to the images, really. But I do recommend Alessandro Fama. He is a fantastic audio guy for games. No problemo. So, where were we? Oh no, I pressed the wrong shortcut. We were here. But they're just links because that's where I found the images. So you can kind of, this is kind of what's going on. It's like the sound is coming through this green portal area, and then the yellow semicircle-y area, this is where the sound of the outside can be audible using normal distance attenuation that you would expect. As you get really far away from the door, you won't hear the sound coming through it anymore. Wow, whatever. Control click to not leave the stream. Yes. All right, so what did I do? Imagine we've got the garden on the left and the shed on the right. And imagine the player is currently in the shed, and then you've got this point on the door threshold between the 2 areas. We measure the distance between the 2. We constantly measure how far away you are from this door threshold, and from this we get all sorts of different parameters. It's going to get a little bit convoluted here. We got distance to the shed threshold while you're inside, interior. So as you're walking around inside the shed, the distance to the shed thingy threshold is tracked. We've got the distance to the shed when you're exterior, when you're outside. So when you're outside the shed, then this parameter gets updated instead. So it's a different one being updated for if you're inside or you're outside. We have distance to the shed threshold when you're inside. Fast. Now this means in FMOD we have different, we have seek speeds, which means if I were to change, let me find a nice parameter. Here we are, footsteps master. If I were to play this, I don't know if I can show this very easily actually. Have a look at this up here. In Leslie's shop parameter here, if I turn it up, if the game instantly tells FMOD to set this parameter from 0 to 1, you see this little yellow thing is moving really slowly. That's because it's got a seek speed applied to it. It's like slowly lerping to it, and I've set this speed in FMOD. And then if I go down, it goes much faster. So this parameter, I've got a different seek speed for changing this parameter fast or slowly. So that's what this is. This is a duplicate of the parameter, checking the same measurements, but snapping down quickly. And the interior and exterior ones, maybe they take a second or two just to lerp, to give it, to smooth the value a bit. Of course, I've got the same thing for exterior, but fast. And I've got is in shed as a boolean, 0 or 1. I've got variations on all these things for the greenhouse as well. So yes, it's complicated. Yes, there's a lot here. I'm not expecting everyone to go, oh, this is really simple. But I'm going to talk about how it was a problem later on. I'm going to go over time. Apologies, everyone. This is going to go on a little bit longer. Sorry. So what's happening is I used all these different values to drive the FMOD spatializer and the 2D pan mix setting on the spatializer. Let's have a quick look at that. So if I go to the greenhouse ambience track, it's not very exciting. I'm going to turn this up for now. Essentially what's happening is, this spatializer is a thing where if this is put on the end of an event, this is what gives it location in the world, and as you move further away from it, you hear it fade out because you're further away from it. It's making it a non-2D sound, it's putting it in the world. And this 2D pan mix here, what this is doing, if this gets turned up to thingy, so 100%, it is now not actually using the spatializer, but it is being fed directly into the left and right speakers, or the 5.1 system, whatever you're using. So it's overriding any spatialization and distance attenuation and stuff like that. And you can hear this because if I put this down to 0 and move this around, this doesn't do anything because, well, the spatializer is being used. The sound will come from its location in the world. If I turn this up to 100%, now I have the choice to feed this sound directly into the speaker that I want. So you can hear it coming from the left. Now I can hear it coming from the right. I'm sorry that you can't. Again, now it's down to 0. It's going to come from its location in the world, as it should. So this is useful because this is the thing that I said earlier about the sound being able to be collapsed to the door threshold, and then as you move outside, the ambient sound of the outside area, this gets turned up, and so therefore the sound becomes all around you. It's no longer being spatialized onto one location. Yes. It's a bit tricky to explain. I can kind of show you. Unfortunately, I can't show you like a blueprint of all this logic because one of my lovely programmer teammates put it all into C++, so it's a bit more performant. But hopefully that, at least in theory, makes some sense. And I can kind of show you. I'm going to undo a bit so this is back to where it should be. Yep. Now, if I were to start a new profiler session, I'll search for the ambience thingy. I'll have a look at this. I'll go into the game. I'll play the game. I'll move the game window over here so we can see the profiler at the same time. And I will record. That's the wrong thing. I wanted ambience master. Navigate to the profiler track. Yep. So we can see all these different parameters down here. As I move further closer to the greenhouse, distance to the greenhouse parameter starts going up and down. As I move inside, you'll see an is in greenhouse slowly go up to 1. You see it slowly going up to 1. And then another parameter, distance to the greenhouse threshold while inside, moves up and down. So I've split up all these different measurements into different parameters. Same thing happens with the tree. There's one called distance to tree. You can see that moving very slightly towards the right-hand side because the wind sound in the ambience is louder, like the wind rustling through the leaves, depending on the distance to the tree. When you get closer to the shed, here we are, more parameters start moving around and being updated. And you can hear, if I were to do some epic hacks, I'll set it to raining. There is the sound, unfortunately mono, of the rain on the roof. And using all these different parameters, you hear a very smooth and personally I think it is a beautiful transition from inside to outside. And if I stand on the threshold, I hear both. When I'm under the tree, using this parameter, I hear more snapping, crackling sounds of water hitting branches and stuff. As I get over here, I hear rain on the roof. And then as I get closer to the interior, I hear the sprinklers and the fans. And now, I can hear the outside rain ambience coming from the doorway. To my left, from my right. I'm sorry again that you can't hear it. You can't hear that. Yeah. This is a flipping smooth sound, I think.